Be right back, guys, in 5 minutes. Yeah. Alright, I'm back in action. Yeah, this is a Dota character, Sniper. Alright, here I am. Let's get back to work. Let's put in some nice hair colors. That's the whole selling point for Cloud, isn't it? It's all about the hair. In fact, for all Final Fantasy characters, it's about the hair. Could I draw Ellie from The Last of Us? I did. I did a digital piece of Ellie a while back. Again, feel free to go and Google it. Just Google Artyom Ellie, you will find it. Yeah, for those of you who are interested to know that if I've drawn your favorite character, most likely I do. Just Google Artyom followed by the name of the character. What color do I use for the hair? This is, let me check. This yellowish shade YR20. This more milky kind of yellow. Yeah, not so striking. I think his hair in the remake is a lot more subtle, not as yellowish. So I think this fits quite well. Thank you, thank you. How long do I spend on my art? Usually a piece like this will take me about an hour-ish if I'm not streaming, because I can just focus on wrapping it up fast. But when I'm streaming, I'm much slower. Actually, I find that when I do sketches at home, I tend to take a lot more time, just slowly making everything look nice. So it should take me a lot longer. But usually at conventions, it's a 1 hour-ish job. Okay, that's quite good. Are you damaging your pentel brush if you squeeze it for more ink? No, you're not. In fact, that's the only way to get more ink from the brush. Every now and then you have to squeeze it so that more ink will come out. So you want the dry brush effect, you should not squeeze it too much. But at points that you want to have more ink flow, more solid kind of ink line, then yeah, you need to squeeze it harder. A little bit. Don't overdo it. Now I'm putting a lot stronger yellow in the darker areas to have more subsurface translucent tone to it. So the hair will look a lot more translucent or glowy in a way. 1 hour for this kind of art? Well, depends on how you see it. You can see that as a 1 hour job or see that I've had 30 years of experience. Yeah, that's usually how I respond to people. Say, oh, you do that in 1 hour. Some of the people may even comment that, oh, you only spend 1 hour on this and you charge so much money for that. I say, no, not exactly 1 hour. You can see that as 30 years of drawing. So that I can draw something like this in 1 hour. So never shortchange yourself. Is Final Fantasy 7 my favorite Final Fantasy? Yes, I would say so. Mm. I mean, I like 8 as well. Only play like 7, 8, and 10, 10 2. You know, the Sailor Moon version of it. Mm. I say 7 is still one of my favorite. Oh, the favorite. Alright, I think the hair is yummy enough. Have I ever shown my first art and am I interested to draw them again? Yes, in fact I did quite a few joy again posts on my social media, which I took some of my very old drawing and redraw them. So if you want to know, again, just Google it. Just search for Art Germ Draw It Again. Just search for Art Germ Draw It Again. You'll find some of my reinterpretation of the old work. If I can pick one, what's my favorite art I've ever made? Wow, that's hard. Hard to choose one. But I would say that for recent years, I really love the work that I did for Catwoman 4. Um, Again, if you do not know what I'm talking about, just Google Ajam Catwoman 4. It's the Catwoman in a masquerade with a mask on it. That's something that I'm really proud of, mainly because I put in a lot of Easter eggs or subtle messages inside. So when you look at the piece of art, you discover a lot of subtle meanings in every part of the image. Or you prefer the traditional more than the digital ones? Yeah, I'm not surprised. Many people will feel this way. They prefer the more traditional, organic look to the artwork rather than the more polished digital ones. It's fine. That's why art is very personal, very subjective. Right, then I'm going to overlay some blue on it for the costume. I guess no right or wrong when it comes to whether you prefer traditional or digital. And for me as an artist, I'm glad that I can do both. Please do more charcoal work. They're amazing. I would love to. Okay. You want my talent? I don't think I have any talent. Or I would say that my talent is to practice every day for the past 30 years and not giving up. That's my talent. So you see that once I overlay the darker tone, now those rough brush stroke that I use become very nice subtle textures. I don't have any skin chart for Copics when it comes to skin tone. Yeah, sometimes it depends on the lighting, sometimes it depends on particular characters, so I have to try out different skin tone for every time actually. I have one of your Morrigan pieces tattooed on me. Oh wow, really? I hope the tattoo artist did a good job. Maybe you can just show me, just send to me on social media, on Instagram or something, yeah, so that I can have a look at it. Most importantly, I hope you don't get sick of that piece of art. It's going to be permanent. Will you need a certain type of paper in order to use Copics? Well, I would say yes, because some paper works much better with Copics. Some may bleed too much, which people like. Some people like a lot more bleeding kind of look, so that the ink can blend together better. Mine is not really blending. My paper is very resistant to bleeding and stuff, which I personally prefer. How do I plan my compositions? I think generally my composition knowledge came from photography. So I took a lot of pictures, so I am very comfortable of putting a character in a rectangle. So that's pretty much the same, right? So when you draw on a piece of paper, it almost feels like you're framing a character in on a rectangle, just like how you do in photography. How should I practice drawing stylized characters? Should I draw from life, from imagination, or from other artist's work? If you talk about the word stylized, that means you are drawing with a style overlay on top of the characters. Then the style need to be coming from somebody, right? Especially if you don't have your own style or your own recipe yet, then you have to try out people's recipe, just like cooking. So learn to draw from the style of the artist that inspires you. Learn, when I mean learning, I don't mean just replicate what they draw. What I mean is that ask yourself, what makes them draw what they draw? How do they interpret or deform, exaggerate the features, the body? Or how do they interpret lights, colors, and materials in that particular style? So you try to find the recipe of the artist in order to learn. That's a good question. How do you transit into stylized work? I find that after trying to learn anatomy, I find it difficult to intentionally stay away from realism. Yes, because you don't know what to stay away from, like how to move away from realism if that is your foundation, which is extremely important because realism is the foundation of all style. The reason why you call it style, you have to be stylized from something. So style lies from reality. That's why it's called style. And the origin of all style is no style, which means realism. So in order to evolve into a certain style, you need to find the recipe. Where do you get the recipe from? Not from meditating at home. You have to learn from other people, style that you like. Try out different recipe from different artists, learn to draw like them, and then eventually mix and match into your personal set of preference, and that will become your style. So you want to develop your own style, start imitating other artists and to find out what you like. Not to be like them, but to find out what you personally like. Just like cooking, no? Alright, now let's give her a nice skin tone. I should not go too crazy with the skin tone. Yeah, I also like to use cooking as analogy because it's easy, everybody like to eat. So easy for people to understand. Hmm. Let me try the warm gray instead of the usual skin tone, which is a bit too vibrant for him. So I do want to make it less vibrant. Make it look a lot manlier. Well, he's not much, but I will try. So now I'm basically using warm gray to define the skin, and then later on I will selectively add some brighter skin tone to make it pop a bit more. Looking good? Yeah, thank you. If I fail drawing cloud, I think the internet will hate me. I've recently, Hannah said that I've recently tried sharing my artwork on social media, still trying to find my style, but I find persistence is key. And I do love the feedback from people to help me fine tune my artwork. Sure, I would say that before you develop your own style, having a solid fundamentals or foundation in that is important because those are your ingredients. Means you have to learn the basic handling of the cooking ware, understand the behavior of the ingredients in order to apply a recipe to it. So it's important for you to invest time in your fundamentals before you worry about develop a style. And it takes time. Of course, I also understand that learning fundamentals can be really dry, especially you are being asked to draw bones, muscles, skins every single day. I mean, maybe by the time you acquire those knowledge, you have no more passion to carry on drawing. So make sure you manage both sides, your passion side and your foundation side, which means spend time in brushing up your foundations by doing studies, training, and for example, drawing muscles and bones. But at the same time, continue to draw what you love, whether it's fan art, original art, cutesy chibi stuff, yaoi, hentai, whatever you, furries, things that keep your passion going. So that when you learn your fundamentals, you can apply that into what you love to draw, and that will keep you going a lot longer than just hardcore fundamental study. Do you have any advice on improving your line work? If you find that your line work tend to be a bit more sketchy or hairy, the reason is simple, because when you draw, you do not foresee the path that you're going. So let's say if you draw, let me give you a simple example. Imagine this is you're walking. So if you draw lines like that, the line will look hairy. Why? Because you are not foreseeing the starting point and the end point that you want to go. You are drawing and try to figure out where you want to go at the same time. So this feels like walking when looking at your feet. So can you imagine when you're looking at your feet and walk, you don't know where you're heading. So you are basically doing exactly this. So your line will look hairy. So instead, identify where you want to start, where you want to end, and where you want to go, how you want to go, how you want to connect this line. So 2 dots here, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, whatever it is, so you know where you want to go, and then go with one stroke. Then from this checkpoint to the other checkpoint, you can connect it back to the other line. So if you do that, your line will look smooth. Hope that's useful. Yeah, it's not easy to learn. You have to build up your muscle memory. So you need the mileage. The more you draw, the more your muscle will remember the strokes, and you will improve your line work. How many times people ask me to draw them for free? Many times. It's interesting, isn't it? Oh, art is so easy for you, you should draw it for free. Wonder if they say that to the restaurant owners or the chef. Cooking is so easy for you, you should cook it for free. Or will they say that to their own bosses? I'm so good with my job, I can do it for free. How do I politely decline free drawing? I would say that I don't. Simple, just no other way. I mean, the reason why they ask you is quite an insult already, isn't it? So you don't need to put it too nicely. You just say, sorry, I don't do free drawing. The only time I do free drawing is for charity. Like fundraising, charity auctions, I do that often, very often. Like because of the COVID situation now, I also give away some artworks to comic shops owner for them to sell and make some money to sustain themselves. But it's not something that I would like to shout about on social media. It's not the point. The point is to help people, not the point is to use that as a marketing strategy for yourself. So we do what we can to help. Alright, now the last bit is his eyes. Thank you for staying up late for me. Let me check again, make sure it's blue. Is it blue? Blue eyes? Is it blue-green eyes or just blue eyes? Yeah, thank you for everyone who stay up late. Really appreciate that. Yeah, teal turquoise kind of colors. Yeah, most likely. It's hard to see. Doing it very carefully. I don't want to screw it up. This is a treat for me. I never catch you live, always working late. Oh, thank you. Yeah, finally you caught me live. I guess that's one of the few good things that come out from this COVID situation. Alright, that should look nice enough. And of course, need to put in a little bit of a highlight. That's the way. I always find that in times like this, when the whole world seems to be standing still, the best way to do is to upgrade yourself, learn new things. If you're an artist, improve your work, so that when the world is ready again, you'll be ready, or even better than ready. Try to add some white. Some scratches. I think he looks okay, right? I don't think this need any more background. It's quite filled already. Okay, let's check it out up close. Hello, handsome. All right, so if you happen to have any other question to ask me, now I have the full attention to answer your questions. Maybe I'll just answer a few before I wrap it up. How do you effectively use a reference? That's a good question. Well, I would say that reference should be done on a regular basis. That means you should look at references regularly and collect them. That means in your computer you should have reference folder for faces or certain like male face, female face, mature face, young face. And then you also have a folder for lighting, so you have different kind of lighting setup that you like, interesting lighting situations, so you should also save those files. So you constantly find interesting things to look at, things that appeal to you, either just the face or sometimes just the hair, sometimes the costume or design reference. You put them all together. It doesn't have to be artworks, it can be photos or photography. So you put them all in your folder regularly. I find that that's more useful rather than you start looking for reference when you draw something. Because if you are not skilled enough, you will try to follow the reference too closely, and instead of using multiple reference, you may just rely on one reference for everything. So eventually it look pretty much like the reference that you draw. I would prefer to use multiple reference to put together. For example, you have face reference, but you want to have a different lighting reference for this piece, or a different kind of composition reference. So you have multiple references come together. I think that's more useful. Again, try to study the reference. Don't just look at the reference as it is, but study why. Always ask the question, why? Why does this material look like this? Why does something look like that? How do I interpret it? How do I use, for example, digital medium like Photoshop to simulate that particular style, to simulate that particular effect? Ask yourself those questions. Then your reference will be much more useful. So there are a lot of questions, so I'm trying to run through some of them. What kind of good white markers will you use? White marker, usually I will use this white marker called Posca from Uniball. So this is really good. It comes with different sizes. So mine is a super fine, I think, plastic fine tip. So yeah, I like the sound of shaking it. So yes, this is good. How many hours a day do I draw? Usually, if I am not disturbed, if I'm not working on, if I'm not occupied with something outside of art, I would say 6 to 8 hours a day for the past 30 years. How can you grow your Instagram? Well, I won't just say Instagram, but social media in itself. There are a few things that you can consider when you draw something which will help to improve your social media reach. Number one, funny. Things that's funny, people like to share. Second, trending. Things are trending, whether it's memes or the popular characters that people like are getting into. For example, Final Fantasy now. Those are trending stuff. People will tend to share it. So funny, trending. Third one is nostalgic. Things are nostalgic that rekindle your love for something that you loved in the past. That will also help to make your work more trending. Number 4, educational. Things that have educational values that you can learn something from it, people tend to share it. Many times you see like posters like do's and don't. Do this, don't do that. How to draw this, how to draw this. In a very snippets kind of post, people love to share those. Number 5, controversial. Things are controversial that well, this is a double-edged sword, but things are controversial, people tend to share if it's not too negative. Yeah. So think about that when you try to draw something. Some of those pointers may help you push your social media a lot more. But eventually, growing your fan base is secondary. Growing your level of art and skill, your craft, that's most important. So spend more time on growing your quality. So before you sell something, make sure you have something good to sell. That's important. Yeah. Let me answer a few more before I wrap it up. How do you know when to use a thick or thin line in the drawing? Yes, lines serve multiple purposes in art. First, it defines boundaries. So usually areas with a boundary, for example, the shoulder pad, the face, the sword, those you can allow yourself to use thicker line to frame it up, because you need to understand that there's no line in reality. You don't see yourself with outline when you walk down the street, right? But we use line to depict boundary of a shape. So usually a shape of, for example, the shoulder pad, it may allow you to use a thicker lines. Some lines are more definitive. In, for example, all these lines, strokes of this hair and this hair depth to define this particular form. Anything that's inside, we call it the transitional line that depict the flow, the contour. Those lines, you can use thinner lines to do it. Lastly, lines can also depict lighting, especially in those darker areas. For example, I use a lot more light in those areas, which call the ambient occlusion areas. Those lines under the ambient occlusion areas, so-called the darkest areas of an object, then you can use thicker line to represent that. Well, that's a quick one. Okay, lastly, how to make a signature drawing style. Like every artist has their own character or drawing. Yes, style will come when you have a good foundation to build on it. Every style evolves from your understanding of fundamentals, how to exaggerate your fundamentals, how to exaggerate reality into different formula. I create a recipe of style. Then you start to find your own style. So in order to find a style, you always have to look for things that you like and try to imitate them to learn the thinking behind everything, so that you can ask yourself if you like certain things. Again, the food example, try different recipe from different cook. Just like when you try to cook a steak, you had no idea how to cook a steak. So the first thing you do is to find a recipe. Usually you find online or in a cookbook. And then you try it out. And then you taste it. Oh, I kind of like this, but I don't like certain things. Then you try another recipe of the same dish. And try this one. I call it the recipe B. And then you try that. Oh, I like this more for this aspect, but I like the recipe A for that aspect. Then you combine them. And try and combine and try and combine. Eventually, you'll find your own recipe in art. That will be called your style. And then you do it consistently, people will start to recognize it is yours. All right, that will be the end of my live stream for today. Thank you for staying up. For those of you who are really late now, it's like almost in the morning. Thank you so much for your patience and your support. I would love to share more with you in the future. So thank you, and have a good day and good night. Love you guys. Remember to stay safe. Don't walk around. Bye bye.